Hi, I'm Everett. Welcome back to the shop. This is part 2 of 3 of the post-hole auger shaft machining. There wound up being a fair amount to the whole process, so it wound up being 3 videos instead of 1. Even with the editing, it went a little bit longer than I thought it would. So again, this time what we're doing is we're going to finish out the shaft diameters as well as cut the Woodruff keys. So I hope you find it interesting and hope you stick around. So this is the setup we're going to use to turn the shaft for its final. It's the next day. It's actually room temperature, just like the other shaft. So measurements we make one to the other should be should be accurate enough and comparable. I just wanted to make sure everything was set up nicely, reasonably balanced. Added a nut and bolt on this other side to balance it off. Yes, I know this bolt is sticking out a little bit, but I couldn't find the short ones, so it's all underneath the hood, so as long as I stay out from under the hood, I'll be okay one way or the other. I do need, however, to now at least get this shoulder close. On this end of the shaft, we have the ring gear or crown gear or whatever, and then a bearing going on the end. The end of the shaft, as far as from here to here, is actually not super critical, because really it's the bearing that takes up the movement this way in the case of the auger. So even if we're within a few thousandths from this face to this face, we'll be fine. For that, what we'll do is we'll use the depth micrometer. 1.153 or so. Yeah, so 1.153. And what we have, so I'll just have to take the old shaft or the new shaft out. Now that I know it fits, we have all our setup sort of figured out. Okay, so there's 0, so that's 2 inches as far as length. Yeah, actually before, how about 2.153 is what we needed. We have 2-inch 16, 2-inch 16. 137 thousandths is what we need off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take 130 and leave that last 7 for a cleanup pass. Now sadly we'll be making light cuts again, even after getting 6s and 9s last night. What we're going to have to do is I have to make light cuts, so it's going to unfortunately be making bird's nests. That's just life. What we'll do is take our dial indicator here, slide it over. I'm going to make the plunger read 1.137. Actually, I'll make it read 1-inch 130. Again, like I say, that leaves me 7 thousandths or so to play with. And again, that end there isn't as critical. Once I get this face established, this shoulder to this shoulder is critical. So, because again, we have to adjust that with the shimming washers. All right, 2-inch 148. Good, we have another 5 thousandths to go. I'm happy with that. So now what we need to do is we need to make this diameter. And to do that, we use the micrometer and measure. Heater's finally off. And we have 1-inch 249, almost and a half there. 1-inch 250, 1-inch and almost 250. So this needs to be brought down to basically 1.250 inches. And again, sadly, we're gonna have bird's nest just because I have to take light cuts for finishing. It's not that warm. And that's where we need to be. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's it. There you go, indicator on the ways reads 1 inch 5/1000. There. Try to blend the corner a little bit. There we go. Oh, yeah, it wants to go on there. Bearing wants to go on. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, it was just a light sliding fit before, so we're good. All right, just need to swap ends and we'll do up this end. Now, as far as the distance between this face and this face, that is a critical dimension because that sets our bearing spacing. So what we're going to do is we'll use our 2 to 3 inch micrometers. 2 inch 664, yeah. So 2 inch 664 is what we're looking for. 2 inch 788. So that's what, 124-ish? Now, one thing that kind of gives me a little bit of more confidence in my electronic ruler is the fact that when I stick it on there, it's 2 inch 64, 663 and a half. I stick it on here, 2 inch 787 and a half. So I may just use this as for measuring this distance here, just simply because of the fact that it's a pain to take it off to have to use the micrometer every time. Now I realize that, okay, that leaves me off by, potentially off by 1/2,000th or so. We'll make do. If you saw the rest of this unit, I'm trying to keep tolerances on what I do tight, as best I can, but I mean, one way or another, I don't think it's going to matter as much for this unit. So we're just trying to make it functional. Now for this journal here, it's this diameter here of the broken off side. 1 inch 500 and, well, a half, almost 1/1000. 571. So yeah, 1 inch 570 and a half. So yeah, we're looking 571, 570 and a half. So yeah, we're looking about 35 thousandths this side, about 70 thousandths to come off. All right. A little bit of warmth to it, but not bad. 1 inch 503 and a half. 1 inch 503 and a quarter. 1 inch 503 and a couple tenths. So I also do feel some warmth in it right now. Yeah, this isn't bad right here. I think I'm just going to finish this shoulder. We're going to let this sit overnight to cool off. It's getting later. And then I'm probably just going to sand this down to final dimension. We're within a couple thousandths. I want to make sure it's a good fit and finish, because right up here is going to be a seal surface. So we'll do that tomorrow. Needed 2 inch 664. So need another, say, 8 thousandths off. Dial indicator, 8 thousandths on the dial indicator. Try to blend that a little bit. 2 inch 663 and a half, 2 inch 664. That's actually reasonably cool. It's warm out here. that's enough for one night. I'll come back to it tomorrow, and we'll sand this into its final shape. Hey, if Adam Booth can do a final sanding within a couple thousandths to a fit and finish, I mean, I figure I should be able to. One last thing to do is give it a bit of a chamfer. And yes, I know it's not completely concentric. Neither was the old one. Okay, so rather than bore you with watching me sand this a bunch, what I've done is I've hit it with a little bit coarser paper. So now it's basically, I'm going to get rid of the coarser grit stuff I have here. Bring out the finer grit, as well as the Scotch-Brite, and try to make this a nice shiny surface. Nice and smooth. Again, I have to have a seal on this surface as well. And I was looking for a 1/2 thousandth over, 1.5 inches, and there we are. 1/2 thousandth. I'm going to hit that with the Scotch-Brite and call that good. Simply to avoid being snagged into it. That came out very nicely. I am happy with that. Now, I have a pile of sanding dust around here I have to clean up, a faceplate, a number of different areas. I'm going to clean that up, and then we're going to get on to making the keyway. So there are a few dimensions we need to locate where to put this keyway in the shaft here. Now, what I've done is I've taken the key, set it in the little hole here, and it's keyway. And what we're going to do, we're going to clamp it in place. Just so I can take a couple measurements. There. So with it clamped in place there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a measurement from this side here to this side of the key, 4.09. Then we're going to subtract again our measurement here, which is 2.663.5. So basically 2.664. And then that figure will give us the distance from this face to that end. I could do it in my head, but I just don't feel like it right now. 1.427. So then we take the distance between this end of the key and that face. I have roughly 195, well, come on, here we go. Roughly 195, 196. Subtract that from that. Gives us 1.231. So 1.231 is will be the middle of this length here. So then what we do is we then divide that by 2. 616 roughly, 6155. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add back that little distance there. So we have 812 thousandths. It will be our center line. That's where we find our center mark. So when I go to locate, as long as I go off of this surface here, and I go toward the end of the shaft, 812 thousandths, that'll put me right on the center of where I need to put my put my keyway. Now, as far as depth, that's going to be a bit more of a trick, simply because of the fact that there's one small challenge that I have. I don't have, because this is a 10-10 standard key, 5/16 inch wide, and roughly 1.25 inch outside diameter, or it would be the outside diameter if this was a full circle. I don't have one that's 5/16 wide. I have one that's 3/16 wide. So what we're going to have to do is make a few cuts, probably the center one, and then we'll offset in order to make it wide enough. So as far as height's concerned, that'll be easy enough as far as touching off. The challenge we have is knowing when we get to the right depth. So what I have done though is comparing again with the old shaft here, and also with some engineering information regarding 10-10 value keys. The key seat on the shaft is saying depth of basically 386 thousandths of an inch. Well, this one here, even just going off the side of the hole, which is, yeah, even the edges of the hole will be slightly low, just because of the fact that we've taken away the cord on the top of the circle right there. Even that's saying 403 thousandths, so this is not a standard key. So yeah, what I'm going to have to do is we'll basically just have to cut that down to where it's 400 thousandths deep. That's where she sits. So we'll lock our x-axis. So now we're going to take our nicotinometer here, or at least one sheet of it, stick it underneath the cutting tool, Woodruff key cutter. I'm just going to pull till it gently starts grabbing. There we go. That's our 0 point. What we need to do now is go down to the center. It's 1.25 inch shaft, so 5/8 is the center, 0.625. Then we add a half of the cutter thickness, which is, well, it's a 3/16 cutter, so half of it is 0.094 inches. So we add that, so we went up with 719 thousandths we have to come down. So now with the tension off of the belt, I can then bring the table back to the point where I want to just snag one of those teeth. There we go. Just touching. So we have the backlash now taken out on the dial. Table's coming this way. We should just be able to plunge to 400 thousandths and be happy. I have the machine set to 120 RPM. It's the slowest this will go. And let's see how she goes. I also have, if you noticed, I'm using the one of the new jacks that Phil and Pierre gave me. It's clamped well enough in the vise. It's just I wanted to give it a bit more support on the end here for a bit more rigidity. So thanks again, Phil, and thanks, Pierre. This is going to be the hardest one of the 3 passes because this is going full width of the cutter. It's the first 100 thousandths. There we go. That's to depth. Wow, I certainly wasn't happy with that. All right, so now we're going to do our offsets. Okay, so our offset, let's do the top offset first. So we need to bring it up to, it says 625 thousandths. This shouldn't be near as much of a challenge for the machine to cut. It's only partial width of the cutter. Wait a minute. Did I screw up already? Please tell me I didn't screw up already. Well, if it looks like I'm starting my cut over, I'm not going to hide it from you. It is. I screwed up. I wound up turning the shaft over. Yes, I realize it's going to create a weak spot. There's not a whole lot I can do about it, but for how much this auger has to run, it's not going to matter. Yeah, I screwed up. I miscalculated the offset of having to move the tool up and down. But anyway, this is now the correct measurement, and we're going to go from here. Yeah, I'm basically going to cut the keyway, and I'll bring you back in pretty much when we're close to the end of getting that keyway cut. You've already seen enough keyway cutting action. All right, there's timing. Little man just woke up from his nap, and a little bit of a burr on the side. That. Yeah, there we go. That will work just fine once, well, again, I have to deburr it a little bit. Yeah, it's going in. Like I say, it's just a little snug. So it will tap into the hole. I'm happy with that. I just wish I could have done it on the first attempt. There you go, fits right in. So anyway, yeah. I'll take it to my boss, see what he thinks, and we'll go from there. So yeah, well, we'll have to pick this up next time. Again, I made one simple math mistake, and that created a bit of a problem with the Woodruff key. I should have offset less than I did. It was a math mistake. You know, I'm only human. Part 3, what we'll do is we'll finish everything off, you know, clean things up, and yeah, we'll get this whole project wrapped up. So hope you stick around for part 3 to see how it all comes together. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Those of you who are, if you haven't subscribed, that's cool. Just thanks for coming by. Hope you found it useful, even if there was a fairly major mistake in it. And yeah, I'll see you all next time.